right, so ratio problems. We're always going to solve these proportions using cross products. So here we have proportions. We just have a ratio set equal to each other. So it's like two fractions set equal to each other. So go ahead and start just by writing this. This is a little simple example for us to start on. We're always going to solve these using cross products. What cross product means is that we're going to multiply them crossways. So I've also heard it called the butterfly method, because you can draw like little butterfly wings like this. And what these tell us is that we are going to do 4 times 5, and we're going to set it equal to 21 times m. So we're just going to set these cross products equal to each other. It's just called cross multiplying. So we do the cross products, set them equal to each other, and then we can go ahead and solve. So 4 times 5 just gives me 20 equals 21m. Now what do I have to do to both sides to solve for m, Micaiah? Yeah, divide by 21. Divide by 21. So these 21s cancel each other out, and we get that m equals 20 over 21. Pretty simple, right? We just did cross multiplication to solve for m. All right, the ratio of neophytes to masters at the tryout was 7 to 2. If there were 714 neophytes, how many masters were there? First thing to remember, Mrs. Weber and I didn't write these problems. That's why they always have these really weird words. So you'll see that in your book also. Don't worry if you don't know what the word is. We're just going to solve it anyways. So raise your hand if you're familiar with a ratio box. Nice. If you're not, don't worry. They actually make these problems a lot easier. So we're gonna learn ratio boxes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with like a little empty grid, just like that. Oh, do we have a light bulb moment? Yeah. Nice. Okay. So in our ratio boxes, what we're always gonna have is in this first column, we're gonna have like the actual words. The second column, we're going to have the ratio. In the third column, we're going to have the real numbers. Okay? So for this problem, we have neophytes and masters. So I like to use initials because it's a lot easier than writing out the whole word. So we're going to have N here and M here, neophytes and masters. The next thing that's really important to remember when we're doing these problems is it says neophytes to masters, and then it says 7 to 2. So which number do we think is going to match up with which thing? Yeah. Yeah, perfect. 7's going to be with neophytes because it's the first thing they say. It's always going to go in the same order. So we're going to put a 7 here and a 2 here. So neophytes to masters and 7 to 2. And finally, it tells us if there were 714 neophytes, how many masters were there? So where is the 714 going to go? Drew? In the top right column. Perfect, because it says neophyte, so it needs to go in the neophytes row. So we're going to do 714 here. And finally, what we want to know is how many masters were there. So masters is going to be our x. It's going to be our unknown. Now what this ratio box does for us is it sets up a nice proportion. So in that first example, we were solving proportions. So what this ratio box does for us is set it up for us. We don't have to do it ourselves. So from here, we can write that 7 over 2 equals 714 over x. Now what we can do is just cross multiply like we did in that first example. So 7 times x equals 714 times 2. All right, calculator and or mental math people, what is 714 times 2? Corey? 1428 equals 7x. So now what do I have to do to both sides, Nick, to solve? Yeah, divide by 7. I have that 7 on the x, so I need to get rid of it. Divide by 7. X equals 1428 divided by 7. Nate? 200. 4. And for these ones, you guys, we always have to have a word on it. So we started with a word problem. Our answer needs to have a word. So ask for how many masters. So you're going to have 204 masters. Always, always, always need that on your answer. And that's our final answer for that guy. Nope, you need the actual word. You could make your X M if you wanted, but you need the word on it. Yep. All right, here's another one. The crowd in Belgrade town square was made up of Croats, I think you say that, and Serbs in the ratio of 5 to 9. If there were 18,000 Serbs, how many Croats were there? Croats? I don't know. Yeah, Croatians, but I think it's just like shortened, so maybe we can just say Croatians. All right, guys, I'm going to put an empty ratio box on here. I'm going to pass on the marker to someone. They're going to fill something in and then pass it on to somebody else. We can do this rather quickly, you guys. We don't have to, like, take forever. So look at the problem and see what we can plug in. The easiest thing to probably plug in is the letters. Thumbs up, guys. Does everybody agree with how this went down? Nice. I do too. So let's go ahead and solve it. Okay, so what that ratio box gives us is our ratios, or our proportions. So 5 over 9 equals x over 18,000. And I can go ahead and cross multiply. So 5 times 18,000 equals 9x.
Does anybody know a shortcut, you guys? So you don't have to multiply those numbers together? Isaac? Yes. So if you divide by 9 on both sides here, you can divide the 9 into either one of those numbers, and it goes really easily into which number? 18,000. So first, 9 into 18,000, then multiply. It's a little easier than multiplying and dividing.
So what's 9 into 18,000? 2,000. Then 5 times 2,000 gives me 10,000. Very good. And what we're looking for was Croatians. That's what I'm going to put. Always a word. And that is our final answer. Any questions on those, you guys? Not bad, right? All right, grab a whiteboard.